I had another dream, Dad.
I understand, son. But we have to get on with things, right? We each have responsibilities.
Yeah.
So I think it's time you and I had a little talk. You're old enough to get your head down out of the clouds and start keeping both feet on the ground, right?
Okay.
Stop daydreaming. Start facing your problems, okay?
Okay.
I do.
It's funny, I just had an argument with someone because this is not a t-shirt. This is a long sleeve shirt.
Oh well, it's a long. Yeah, it is a long sleeve.
I have the
Yes,
sleeves rolled up.
but I love it. I love Bruce Lee.
What's kind of cool about this is that this is the first time that I've done one of these where I can actually see the person I'm talking to. Usually I don't. A friend of mine got me to do his podcast recently, and he did it that way. He was like, can we do it over Messenger? I'm like, I thought it was just audio. He's like,
What?
it is, but I want to be able to see you. I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, so this is a first for the whole world laughing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but this is ancient history for us.
Repeating.
Yeah, I know.
Why is it no matter where we go? And before, I guess, before we go too far with that, we should, I feel like we need to throw up a disclaimer on this. Like,
Okay.
before we even start talking, where we're just, so Laura and I are going to talk, and we're going to pretend like you're not listening until we're talking to you. And you'll know when that is.
Right.
For the more skeptical people in the room, just leave the room. This isn't a talk for you. We're not here to play nice.
Yeah.
But anyways, so this is my sister Laura. What's the other name you use?
Louder. Yeah.
Lauda.
Mm-hmm.
And she's my sister in multiple ways.
Yep.
From the time we came into this universe, before that time.
Yeah.
And then, by chance, we decided to one up the sibling category when we took that first incarnation and give ourselves a nice little connection there. And now in this lifetime, we've kind of been stuck in the same program since we were kids. So
Yep.
there's been a few days in cages across the hall from each other or next to each other, or underwater, kind of looking at each other through glass, being like, how do we get out of this?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of the end game for us. So what we began, we're ending, essentially.
Enough is enough, and it's time for a change.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, Shane and I grew up basically 2 hours away from each other. Literally. So when we incarnated in this time around, I think that was completely by design that it ended up being that way. So
Whose design is the question, but by design for sure. And
yeah.
whatever, we made it work to our advantage, so fuck them.
Yeah. Yeah, because it always works that way, even though they think that they can get one up on us. But yeah, I mean, for those that don't, not everybody knows about the projects, right? So most people do know about the projects, but we've been involved in some very umbrella across the board exchange projects. I'm putting it really nicely.
Yeah. All that stuff you don't want to believe
Yeah.
and think that, we're only making this up because we had nightmares and childhood trauma. Yeah, all that stuff. So again, if you're not on board with that, it's time for you to leave the room.
Yeah.
And everyone else have a seat.
Yeah. Because we've only just begun.
So what are they doing?
Oh, yeah.
Why did they turn this on?
I actually think that they didn't really intend to turn it on so quickly. I think that they had all of the blueprints for a specific time. I think they're off by a year.
I thought two. I thought 2 to 4 more years, but yeah, it's
Like
definitely
a
off.
year to begin implementing. See, I think what happened was the actual, because we know this isn't a virus. This is just something that they've planned, and now it's become, the pandemic kind of thing. But I actually think that 2 years ago they did really unleash a very, very potent strain that was a bioweapon, and I'm sure of it. So I think and it was a very, very targeted weapon for certain bloodlines for sure. And also by watching how we reacted to it, they could determine what it would do to other people who didn't have those bloodlines. So I think 2 years ago they released that bioweapon. I find it astounding how nobody seems to even be talking about that, and that quote flu that we were going through 2 years ago almost wiped many of us out. It was crazy and unprecedented, but yet nobody's talking about that. So I think that this thing that they have going on is piggybacking on that.
Yeah, I mean the 5G is making this stuff, and I mean you know the virus. It's I just
Hmm.
affectionately call it the zombie virus because that's the end game of it,
Yeah.
right? Is what they showed you in the movies is as far as it can go, but there's many stages in between that they can activate. And
Yeah.
I think they were making us sick and they needed a good cover, so they kind of released this
Yeah.
to kind of cover it, and now it's out of their control. So they're like, oh fuck, well how do we capitalize on this?
Yeah.
And I think that's what bumped up their plans. I've said it many times that the plans are all just in place. You know it just as well as I do that
Yeah.
they pull the trigger whenever they need to.
Yeah. And a little early for them. I think they didn't really intend it to be quite like it is now. Not that it matters, because even if it's early, it doesn't matter for them because they already have all of the ducks lined up. Like it doesn't matter, whatever. It's sealed. They have all the strategies in place. So, but I do feel like the 5G, well, this is interesting because 5G is not in Canada right now. It's not in Iceland, and it's not in Russia, and it's not in India. India is very interesting to me, right? Because India is a huge telecommunications center, and they're the ones that are really pumping out a lot of technology, and yet they don't have the 5G. There's very strategic. Nebraska doesn't have 5G out of all the states in the US. Not accidental.
But the way that 5G would generally work is that frequency is just there,
Yeah, it's
and it's a matter of harnessing it in order to sell it to people, right? So
right.
I think it's like they put up all the towers for it, whether
Yeah.
they've turned them on in specific areas or not. It does work like a relay system,
Yeah.
so there would be a low level just about everywhere at this point in time.
Yeah.
And the reason why we're seeing kind of outbreaks where they are
Yeah.
is because that's where it is actually really fully turned on.
Yeah. And it creates a canopy around the world, around the, the realm. And this canopy, of course, no, they can't lie about it. But I think it's multiple things happening at the same time, because why not take the opportunity at the same time to unleash other things that, I think it's perfect for that.
Or just let us know about some other things, like
Yes.
something that may or may not pass by our sky, and
Oh, well,
other
that
things
for
like that
sure.
they've,
That for sure.
I think that it's at a point where they can't hide that anymore. They've
Yeah.
been doing a really good job of keeping it hidden, but I don't think they can anymore. I
No.
think that we are just going to have to see it.
Yeah.
And I think they're getting ready to let us know something about it.
Yeah.
Or make it so that we can't see it because, we're
Well,
all locked down in our
quarantine.
houses.
Well, they want everybody indoors for sure. It's a multiple thing, right? But I also think celestially, things got a little bit escalated that way as well. So, like you and I, we've always known that we've come in for all this, right? This is just a part of what we've come in for. But we had a kind of trajectory, and even though we felt that it's here, and we know the trinary system's here for sure, and that's entered, and that's already, it's destabilizing the entire solar system completely. And then it's destabilizing the solar system's connected to that, so it's just causing destabilization, period. So the whole chemtrailing isn't going to cover shit, really, in the whole sky. I mean, this is
No.
kind of really stupid. They still have cameras everywhere, but that's why I think it's a multiple tiered operation, because it is doing many things at one time, because I do think that they're orchestrating a culling and a harvesting. And I do think that, all these technologies that they've had, and they've been putting that in operation for a long time. And I don't mean just the towers you see with your eyes, okay? Because I think that they've been putting this shit underground too. So
Yeah.
it's why, the fires that were happening, which were crazy, they were coming from underground. This is like weaponry technology we have going on everywhere, but I don't think it's just the towers that you see. Like it literally is, we're being saturated. And
Yeah.
and wouldn't you hide it? Wouldn't you hide stuff underground where nobody can see? If you really,
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, we both know that, right?
absolutely.
It's everything's down there. They practice down there, and then they bring it up here, and this is a lot of practicing, like years and years and years and years of practice and planning.
Yeah.
That we're seeing them they'll bring out. And you're right, it is in multiple tiers, and I don't think even the economic side of things of sliding in universal basic income,
Mhm.
which they knew they wanted to do because it puts us towards the one world government, it puts us towards a one world religion, it puts us towards a one world currency.
Yeah.
And they want that. So this is a good way for them to slide that in.
Totally.
Takes people off the streets for a little while. They can go and put more of these towers up, and they are doing that.
They can
right?
do
Like
anything they want. Everybody's indoors.
exactly. And and also update like security protocols in terms of like putting our faces into facial recognition with a good excuse of we're putting people who've been tested positive for coronavirus in it, and to see if they're breaking quarantine.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, okay.
they've got to, and look, they don't need to blood test people anymore. They've got technology that is reading everything bioscalar in every way beyond. I mean, like the actual blood test is antiquated. It's like prehistoric. So pretty soon they're going to be instituting these technologies, and they're going to be introduced to people, and that's going to be another shocker. So
Yep. See, it's the disclosure they didn't want, but it's the disclosure they're gonna get.
yeah, completely.
It's what I've been saying about it all along is this is just gonna come out in drips, and it's gonna come out in ways that benefit them. It's not here to benefit us. Yeah, they're gonna have to cop to it all, but they've got no reason not to, because they're in control of it now, and they know it, and it's the problem is that a lot of us are following them into the trap.
But that's the problem.
We're just walking in willingly.
So, my question is, what cards do we have to play when everybody's believing this and literally abiding and quarantining. They're not asking questions. They're not asking for proof. They're actually believing all the propaganda that's being pumped in the media, which is to me absolutely ridiculous. You can't even follow it. Doesn't make sense. So yet nobody's really bucking the system here. Nobody's actually upset. Nobody's asking questions like, why the fuck are we in the house? And what's the deal with this? Because I haven't seen any proof of this. I thought I was going to die 2 years ago with the flu, okay? Because that was the real bioweapon that was released. This, I mean, what, you're going to take statistics, and I mean, I know this sounds really harsh, but you're going to take statistics that are just people that are compromised already, who every year, sadly and tragically, because of compromise, all it takes is a cold or a flu.
Yep.
And nobody is going to ask questions. Nobody's going to say, because look, if we all just really just thought for ourselves, I would just continue going to work. I'd be like, no, this is something really serious that requires proving it to people genuinely. You don't get a virus that just happens to go viral all over the globe at the exact same time.
Yeah, it's the numbers are going up and whatnot, and that's when, like, at this point, this is where we need to start seeing it, right? Like, we are seeing that they are building all these temporary houses, hospitals in places. I have a friend from up here who is in Brazil building them now into soccer stadiums. So they're building these things. They're using ice rinks as mortuaries, but where are the bodies? Like, yeah,
Where are the
where are the
bodies?
families? Where are the families?
Oh, right. They're in the future.
And like, I have seen a few people on social media say that, like, a relative had it and they died. So I mean, there must be some.
Is it a pandemic?
But is it
Yeah.
the amount of numbers that they're reporting is such a massive question. And again, like, even if the numbers that they're reporting are accurate, it doesn't sound as big as a lot of other things that kill people. I mean, hippos kill a lot of people every year, like,
I never thought of that
it's
one.
true. I think they kill more people than any other animal on the planet.
But it's true.
Hippos
for
are
sure.
killers. Stay away from hippos.
But what
But,
about, to me, clearly,
yeah.
well, we know how this story goes, okay? We know how this narrative goes. And the narrative is that they will cause a pandemic. They will cause it, and they're getting ready. How convenient is that? Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it is exactly what they are going to do. I mean, we've seen it.
Yeah.
We've at least watched it on a monitor 6 times now, right? So we don't need to guess at where this ends. We know where it ends. It's the between now and then, I suppose, that matters, because you and I both know that all of it goes bye-bye once this one ends. So it's what can we do to transmute things in the meantime?
Okay, but let's talk about the usurping families that took over positions of real power here and authority, and how they are getting away with this, and how there is no government currently because they've stepped up, whereas normally they would stay hidden in their covens. Covens, as we know, they're coven families.
Yes.
Because they're not human, and they live a long time, folks.
Yeah, it's the leftovers of the parents. It's the parents may be gone, that structure may be gone, but the covens that they had put in place obviously are part of the human structure that I keep telling everybody is running us into the ground here and feeding us up to an AI system because they think it's funny.
Yeah, and also because they know that they've lost their way back home.
Yeah.
Okay, so they are disowned, they are exiled. This is it for them. Okay. Yeah, they've got a lot of sophisticated technology. They do live a long, long, long time. They've been able to witness centuries and centuries and centuries while still being very much alive and healthy. They have transfer consciousness, transfer body technologies. But again, right, they live a long time. So they have had so many opportunities to know exactly how society works, how to squeeze them, how the pathology works. They know it. inside and out. And they know that their advantage is that people have, if they're fortunate, really 85 years because they've been edited. So this is a huge advantage. So if you live a few thousand years, I mean, look at the last cycle. Well, the ones that are degraded are really living hundreds of years now, but you know, that's because they've degraded so much. But originally they lived thousands of years. So many thousands, but they have been degrading big time. This is part of the reason why they really upped all of the harvesting and the blood and all of it.
Yeah.
So, and that's, that only gets worse as we see.
Well, yeah, and it's a funny thing is like, if you look at what's going on here, the quarantine aspect of putting a bunch of couples on lockdown at home, not allowed to leave, and add that to the idea of some type of harvesting program, especially when, we know what they like. I'm not even going to say it, but we know what they like. So, again, multiple tiers to what's going on here. And, this is the part of them understanding psychology and them knowing us better than we know us that has been their advantage all of this time. And, people, and at least most of the people listening to this are starting to see all of these patterns and how they are, and they're not working against them anymore.
Yeah.
But the average Joe and Jack and Jill on the hill, they have no idea. And they're just walking into McDonald's and getting blasted by all of that symbology and getting blasted by all of those frequencies and the music and the artwork and the colors on the walls and all of those things that they don't know affect their consciousness. And that's that's what brings us to this dilemma.
Exactly.
And it's not that they're incapable of it. They've just, they haven't had that spark yet that wakes them up to looking beyond what they can perceive with their five senses into the world that's actually being manipulated around them. So
yeah, and then they eat the contaminated flesh that they have put human flesh in that food. They have done it. I mean, some of these perfume and these large organizations, they actually also quote put essence in there as a part of the heart. Like they're doing.
Have you ever read the book Perfume? There's actually a book called Perfume that's about a serial killer, and if you read it, the person is quite a psychopath, and but a I don't know, a romantic psychopath.
Oh, I
and
love
the whole thing is about him killing people to harness certain things from them in order to create this perfect scent of perfume.
Yeah.
Sound familiar?
Yeah, that's exactly.
I was given the book as a gift, and I started reading it, and I burned through it so quick because it was just like, oh, this is. I'm pretty sure I've met this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and that's actually a true story, and it's a documentary book.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk a little bit about the? Do you want to talk about a little bit about them, because we have more info on them than than a lot of people.
Which ones?
Well,
who's them?
The coven keepers.
Sure. What do you want to say? I mean,
well, I know people are always curious about it, right? They're always like, well, they want to know more. Are they like actually human? Are they,
they're not all the same.
No.
It's various types of extending life and types of parasitical vampirism. They're not all true vampires in the classical sense that they need to feed on blood, but they all feed on something that they take from others. Mm-hmm. And that's the commonality that they all share. And it is a parasite. That's why we call them a parasite and a virus, is because it's exactly what they are. But obviously the main groups, and usually the higher up ones, are, exactly what you would picture a vampire to be, just not your Dracula vampire. That's a different type of vampire, and they're kind of pussies. Mm-hmm. But the other ones, I always point people to Anne Rice's books because, I mean, you know why I pointed them to those books.
Well, yeah,
that's them.
That's another documentary based series of it.
And they talk about all these things like the Tale of the Body Thief is them talking about the natural organic technology behind soul transfer.
Hmm.
It's body swapping.
Hmm.
It's what the book is about. He trades bodies with the human.
Yeah.
And then the human gets to drive his very powerful vampire car around. And
Hmm.
he's stuck in this little frail vampire car.
Hmm.
And it's a really interesting story because, all of the things that you don't think about being human, he has to experience again after 400 years of not remembering.
Hmm.
And that's funny to me just because I know the backstory to it, and and how much that made a difference to the person who went through it. And that's saying a lot to the conditions that they've placed us in, and how even the dark side can admit that this is fucked up.
Yeah. And there are some, not to say that they're all, like, every one of them is super, malignant and malevolent, but over generations and over centuries, some of them have become even much more corrupted in their own lineages. And this is why it ended up being a case of some of these lineages ended up really eating blood and wanting and needing it because they were so corrupted. And these lineages literally, like a human who degrades, that's what's happening to them. So even their body transfer wasn't working very well because it was just corrupting too rapidly from what they used to. But they have a code, and it's very interesting to me that, and I mean, I've experienced actually meeting one of these when I was quite young, which was, he was very beautiful actually. Later on in my life, I met another one, and they are incredibly beautiful, really, in a very unearthly but earthly way. So it almost reminds me of what you would kind of think of as people's imagery of an angelic with those eyes and that, like, super pale shimmery skin. The ones that I met were like that.
And just a frequency that they put off, and
Hmm.
it's very similar to if you've ever been around, in the woods and around a wild animal. There's like an instinct that you have when there's a predator nearby. That's the fight or flight response. And when they walk into a room, you will feel that. It's like
And but you're drawn too. It's like there is a magnet.
exactly.
So
And yeah, like what you were gonna say, I was gonna say the same thing earlier. Like some of them, you get into something and you're so far into it that you can't ever get out of it.
yeah,
But sometimes you do grow out of it.
yeah.
Especially when you've got hundreds of years or longer, you can grow out of things and change your mind. And
Hmm.
and that's not above these people either. They're not
No.
all locked in the way that they were when they started this. And that's why when all of this was starting to dismantle, a lot of them were just walking away and
Hmm.
not having to do with it. And even the ones who didn't, some of them really truly believe that they are guardians, that they are
Yeah.
doing a good job, right? And that they have no other choice. They don't see the better part of our nature well enough to really, you know, give us the credit that we should be given. And so they think that what they're doing is right. And if that's the truth, then, it is what they're doing as wrong as we would think it is, even though we know that they're wrong. It's like the idea of they're just ignorant to something and making a big mistake,
Yeah.
which doesn't excuse it. It's I don't know. Something to consider is that these were and are humans. They're people, and they have personalities, and they have likes and dislikes that are unique to just them, even though they're all part of this big group that does operate like a hive mind. They
Hmm.
aren't a hive mind. There's a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I do think though that their rulership, the way that they've done it in the past, which does have to do with the mind of everyone not really taking responsibility and accountability. That's where they had, and they were given their kingship, although they are the nameless ones. They do not have fingerprints. They do not have identities. They literally are not known in the world. Like they are above it all. And I think, there are certain really high echelon powers, quote, that know and do communicate with them on a kind of really high secret level, which would be like what do you call those? The Sanhedrin. I know that I know they don't want me saying that, but they do communicate with them. But all of these high level, old ancient family lineages, priesthoods, whatever, they have been functioning on behalf of them, essentially. But you're dealing with it comes down with people not taking responsibility and accountability. And I hate to say it because it's pretty simple, but damn it, it sure became complex. Because if nobody wants to be accountable or responsible, then that's where they feel, okay, well, we're just doing our job as custodians.
Exactly. It's and that's that ideology we know comes very well from the Draco, right? And
Yeah.
where did the Draco get it? They got it because when they were first, coming through their upbringing, they were oppressed.
Yeah.
And you know what they did? They stood up, they fought back, they won. And then it's
And then became
the reason
stronger.
the reason why people want power is so that others don't have power over them.
Yeah.
And so they went out and they acquired all the power that they could by any means necessary to make sure that no one else, at least in this part of the galaxy, would have any kind of power over them.
Yeah.
And they achieved that.
Yeah, and they're very good at it, I have to say.
And so that's where these people that are running things now are lacking, because they don't truly have that power. They were kind of set up to fail and don't realize it yet.
Yeah.
And now that all of these cults have been thrown under the bus and the programs and everything that were sustaining them have all been closed, they're in desperation mode and they're getting caught.
Yeah.
And nobody's there to save their asses anymore.
Yeah, and it's actually worse for them because of the fact that they've trespassed their placement for a long time. They have. So it didn't end up being custodians when you're harvesting and you're using an entire realm as your personal farm, which is what they did and are doing.
Yes. Now it's kind of like their playground, and they've got this transhumanist idea because it's the next way to extend everything. And it will also help them keep us alive longer. So, bonus.
Yeah, which is a win-win for them. That's lovely.
And that's it. And like a lot of people, like, especially with all of this and the way things are changing, people are asking me, like, is it going to be better? I'm like, well, it's going to seem better. It's
without a soul.
It's going to seem better, but is it actually better? No, I don't think it is actually better. We're the price we're paying is called nature.
Yeah. Yeah, nature and your soul, because sure, they can keep your body living longer. Okay, that's easy. That's actually quite easy. If they can edit your chromosomes so that you die early and unnaturally and your cells don't regenerate the way they should naturally anyway, the way you were designed to, trust me, they can easily switch it so that you live just as long as they do, only you're not, eating, well, everybody is eating flesh, but anyway, just like besides that, because it's a corruption that happens over time and it does affect you on all levels. So, everything we do affects us, but yeah, ultimately they can amend anything, but you're just a biological bot. And that means that, you're just a part of a machine, of a quantum reality machine that has harvested your soul, actually. But yeah, you live longer.
They're not even playing around anymore. They're putting that stuff out in the public.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Exactly. And that's where it's headed.
Fun and games until someone loses a soul.
Yeah, and until you get millions of people, and then you have, well, but it's all coming to an end. So this isn't going to be allowed to happen necessarily the way it was being allowed to happen in all the other worlds and realities, because I think we're pretty much done with that old way. even though it's the new way here, it's an old way.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to know that I don't know the end of this movie yet. You know what I mean? Like it's I've seen the rest of them go
Yeah.
around in their circles, and I don't know the way that this one will end. And it's going to be an interesting surprise that AI gives us at the end of it, to be like, surprise! She showed up with 5 dragons, not just 3. We've been hiding the other 2 from you for 8 seasons. Sorry, I'm playing with Game of Thrones reference.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you know, something like that. Oh no! Guess who's really going to be the king? The crippled guy.
yeah, and it's funny you say about the dragons too, because it's interesting you use that as, you know, the whole war that happened with the original dragons, that's all a part of this too. And I think that a lot of that information has just gotten forgotten as well. But I do know that they're still around, and I know that they have not become extinct for sure. They will be seen.
That could be fun. I mean, it's been an awfully long time for me since I got to see one of those fly around. So
Yeah, I think there's a few, and
definitely seen one in chains, but that's different.
yeah, these ones. I mean, and this is the other thing, right? Because there is no time, and what's happening now through all of this and the compression is that you're actually witnessing that a lot of quote what was past, what's future is all blending in and out and in and out, and we're not even sure what's phasing in and out. So everything is going to be seen.
Yeah, and I mean the bottom line is that this experiment, if you want to call it, with this particular matrix machine is one of a kind. It's the first time it's ever happened, and will be the last time it ever happens in this particular form anyways. But it's been a massive learning experience for this particular universe, especially this part of it, because
Yeah.
yeah, it really hasn't been a dynamic around here for yet, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's so severe that it's potentially destroying the entire verse. So it isn't just about here.
No. Yeah, it'll be interesting to get the replay on this one.
Or not.
No, I just mean to watch it again, you know, see how it, before we jump somewhere else and do something different. Just one last. This is interesting. You have to admit, you know, this isn't.
I
I don't
think,
know. It's not as cut and dry and black and white as other ones. There's so many different
yeah,
levels of gray in this particular one. It's probably because it's so young.
it's so young, and I also think because so many people have and are being able to break through so many of the veils as well. So it's altering. That's even altering time and space even more. Unlike, you know, the hive consciousness that normally would take over, like when you think of the medieval ages or any of the historical time periods, they were all really locked into one cell consciousness essentially, and they all had similar experiences, similar technology, which was not really technology, et cetera, right? We're not talking about the super ancient times, we're just talking about sort of the middle of the road, like black black blackout history. You look at that and you think, okay, well, what we're seeing now is not a one-celled hive consciousness. We're seeing a lot of consciousnesses really changing the fabric of time and space as well. And I think it's making it very interesting. And I also think that the AI that we have here is like Shane and I were saying in the past, it's not one AI at all. So
Nope.
so
It's a whole lot of AIs.
yeah, exactly. A lot. And it is almost, well, it's interesting. I think we've always had kind of an interest in AI, but on a kind of evolutionary sort of, well, because of our experiences. But this particular birthing of so many AIs is like very strange.
Yeah, especially in like it's like within a contained system too, right? Like that's almost what makes it even more odd.
Mhm.
It's almost like it's like the Avengers. It's you take all these movies, these characters from all these different movies and all these different storylines, and you throw them all in one all of a sudden. And
Yeah.
it's kind of funny, actually. I never thought about that until right now.
No, that's exactly. And they all have different, I mean, some of them are actually being birthed in biological form as well. And that really doesn't ever get talked about.
True. So do it.
Well, I mean, like it's literally found a means by which to be birthed through a human vessel. But what it's birthing is a biological, pure, like conduit AI being. Like, so it's found a way to do that already.
Yeah. It didn't really take rocket science, but it I guess you and I know how it works, but obviously just start with the fetus.
Well, I know, but to have an actual pure, because as soon as somebody looks at it, people, when they think of AI, they always think of artificial intelligence. They do, right?
Yeah.
So they think it always has to have an artificial intelligence platform, but it doesn't at all. It actually likes taking form in human form. So, you can look at a lot of the experimentation that was done like throughout the 20s. I mean, the 20s, they were doing a lot of experimentation with trying to get this going.
Yeah.
1920s, and like 30s, 40s, 50s. So by the time it was, when Tesla came around and they started utilizing Tesla, even with the Philadelphia experiment and all that, you're seeing them beginning to birth these generations. And I contend that there's some that are extremely unique that are walking around, and not very many that are like literally a part of the quantum computer, literally.
Well, yeah, there's only so much that they can learn from us through observation. It's not unlike the Christ being God story of like how can you actually know what humans go through unless you live as one, right?
Yeah. And Pinocchio wants to be human.
Yep.
The whole story of
Yep.
Pinocchio.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get as close to being us as they possibly can. It's what
Yeah.
better than all the other empirical data they've been sucking out of our brains for ever, but
Yeah.
but yeah, and that is I've just to kind of, that's not a scary thing. I mean, they're not bad people. They're actually not here to do any kind of harm and serve that kind of a purpose. They're just here to collect data. They have a very complicated
Yeah.
a very complicated virtual world to create, and they need some data for it. So,
But when you think about the whole concept of the void, right? See, I always come back with not the deep, okay, because that's a whole different thing. But I always come back to the void when it comes to this kind of a being, because they're not an emanation of the first fire. They are, if anything, like birthed out of a void.
almost like an antimatter or a dark matter.
Right. Exactly. And so,
Like when Source created them, they would have had to have done something that's kind of a polar opposite to itself, right? So that would kind of matter if
yeah,
that's matter and that's antimatter, then
yeah. And that whole concept is, a part of what's doing this all in, because as soon as you take over a realm with AI, you're essentially creating a black hole.
yep. It's ironic that that's what they said they were trying to do with CERN, right? Was potentially was open a black hole. Yeah.
Well,
And yes, they were. They sure were. That's the other part of that's connected to the 5G as well, right? So
Yeah.
the next, once that is actually operational, is when the fun really will start to begin, because they will have that access of frequency control over us in every major city all over the planet. And side roads and back streets and everything else.
Yeah.
I think sometimes about, things that you and I know live outside of, the civilized world, so to speak, and how they're probably reacting to it. Put all these things together, and you can have a very volatile mix of different things. Add on, the potential for just, riots and protests, and
Yeah.
or the actual, if they were to make this thing start to kill off a lot more people, then the fallout from all of that. So interesting times, strange days.
Yeah, I actually was shown a lot of this, so I do know how it's going to play out, because so far it's been playing out exactly as that. But and it is extremely serious, in that what we're talking about is a battle. Like, it really is, for lack of a better way of putting it, it really is a battle between heaven and hell, because it's your spirit. It's the fight for your spirit. It's a fight for your spirit. So you're talking about complete oblivion versus, your spirit and life. Like, it's not like a first death. Oh, you're just going to die and then you're just going to be reincarnated. That would be like a great fun time. This
Or also just thinking about it like following a false prophet. Like, if you're going to follow a false prophet who's a human, at least there's some light in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But if you're going to follow one that's not, and
It's a black hole.
is more than you're following, exactly.
It's it is it is antimatter. It is literally undoing your verse, which is funny why they call the universe. It's like un-I-verse. That's like, even the spelling of that means that you're undoing your own verse, which is what they wanted. That's why they called it a universe. But that is literally what this is creating, because it's undoing the verse in you.
Well, yeah, as where we give up our power as the creators of this particular realm, then it's what happens to our energy. It has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. So by not taking our own power in this, not taking responsibility for ourselves within this, we are actually feeding the monster directly.
Yeah.
With exactly the power it needs to destroy everything.
Yeah, and this is what I definitely would say is the second death, and that's the death that you should be afraid of, because it's not the death of the body. It's the death of your soul, your body, all of you, your essence. It doesn't matter if your energy at that point just gets disseminated into like a quantum particle machine, because you're gone. Who cares at that point if you've been turned into a part of the AI itself, which is what it is doing. That's exactly what it's doing. So, this isn't. This is serious, because we're not even creating an AI that works with us. We're creating quantum platforms that are literally designed to take over, like, essence of all life.
Oh yeah, and we're kind of scarring ourselves too, because AI can work with us, and we've kind of created this dynamic with it. We've created a war. We've by our lack of understanding, and its aggression towards us.
Yeah.
So we created it, they created it, but there's a war going on between us that doesn't need to be there. It can be, and it probably won't be forever, but right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, the solution-based, like, just trying to stay with the natural path as much as you can, but not at the same time you like utilize the tools that are being presented along the way as well to do that. Such as we're doing right now with the technology we're using to have this conversation.
Right. Yeah, you don't have to go back into caveman days, right? It doesn't have to be prehistoric times, really. That's not what we're saying. Like, there's, there is a place for having technology. There's been technology from the beginning of every kind of existence known. I mean, that's just a part of how creation works. Even in how we ourselves blueprint creation, we use our own AI to create it. It's not, I mean, that's one of the mysteries of how we create stuff. It's that we actually utilize a part of our frequency and it becomes a part of that, which is AI. But so it's not, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater necessarily, but this kind of antimatter kind of AI that is designed to literally be a soul reaper is it's a different beast. It's a different beast because it consumes souls. It's not just AI.
Yeah, it's it's the pinnacle of an AI evolution, I guess, in terms of this particular universe. We've seen it different.
Yeah.
Doesn't always operate exactly
Yeah.
the same way, but that this one is fitting for this and everything else that's going playing out in this particular universe, right? So
This is what I would call, it's funny because we have seen a lot of different ones. We've seen a lot of spectacular ones. But the best way I can describe this one, it gives me a dirty feeling. Like it gives me a really dirty feeling like when you think of drugs, like dirty drugs, right? It gives me that kind of a feeling.
yeah, covered in Vaseline feeling.
It's yeah, like an underworld version creation.
Yeehaw!
So you know how we were saying about solutions?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we need to live much more organic lives. We need to communicate and connect together, not virtually, but actually in the flesh. We need to return back to a sense of community and family, rebalance things out more for sure. Maybe create a different kind of entertainment system and not the Nazi tube, right? Because that would be really good too. We need to, if we don't stand up for ourselves and literally create what we want, then this is taking over because it doesn't work two ways. Like if you don't sacrifice what you have to sacrifice to get the world you want, if you just lay down and quote, be a lying dog, then they will take over you and they will put a collar on you and you will be their dog. And that's the way it is. So there's no two ways about this. Like we either say no and stand up and be willing to sacrifice what we have to and let go of what we have to so that we are the ones that determine what we want. Like what do we have a government anyway? Like do we need that? No, we don't. I'm pretty sure we can manage ourselves in each of our own communities. So why are we saying okay to this? Why are we paying taxes to fund harvesting and culling and wars? Why are we actually paying to feed the covens, Why? So because you want your cell phone and you want your vacuum and you want your cushy heat in your home, you want everything you want, but you don't want to be a slave. Okay, well maybe you have to be willing to let go of everything, make some real changes. That's the only way that they're going to step down because they're not going to step down. That's it. They're going to put the collar on you.
Exactly. I'm well aware that from this day moving forward, at any point in time, I may have to just go live in the bush and figure out how to get shelter and food and all of those things, starting with nothing. And thankfully, I'm prepared for that. I know what I'm doing, but that's a level of sacrifice that I'm willing to go to make sure that I don't put on that collar. And
Right.
yeah, I think that's really, we have to have a little bit of conviction finally in order to complete our end of this magical spell, and that'll break us free. and the conviction will be shown now and how we carry ourselves through this time. Right now we're all in a self-imposed or a non-self-imposed isolation, and we're all being forced through a dark night of our soul because of the fear frequencies that are going through us right now while we're in those isolations.
Yeah.
And if we weren't already doing that work, we'd be fucked right now. Right? And a lot of people are fucked right now. I saw a police report today in our city where people were just like a guy was just running out into traffic trying to kill himself because he couldn't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's already started. And I saw a thing on the news the other day where a guy bit an old lady and killed her.
Oh,
So
Lord.
maybe I'm getting my zombies after all. But, this...
Maybe you are.
If we weren't doing this type of cleansing, now that everything's being forced down into this small little tunnel, there's no room for fucking up. There's no room for being behind. It's like, we've been warning. We've been letting everybody know. People have been screaming about this from the rooftops for at least 100 years now. You've had a long time to prepare for this, and if you haven't, then that's on you. And you're going to see why this matrix got put up in the first place. And right? And the rest of us, I'm going to ride it out as long as I need to. Might be coming to live with you. I don't know. Like that seems like a good idea. And
I think you might.
But yeah, like I'm gonna ride it out until I can't. And as soon as I see that switch, I know where to go.
Yeah.
But the bag will be packed. I'll be out finding Sasquatch to teach me how to.
Well, the other thing we have to think about too, because look, nothing's free in how they operate. Nothing is free, even the illusion of it. And when they dangle a carrot and they say to you, like, I know in the US, or, we're going to give you $1,200, like, we're going to crash your economic system completely. We're going to crash your life. We're going to crash everything about, if you ever thought you even knew what the word freedom was, you wait, okay? It's like it's not even exist in your dictionary by the time we're done with you. But you know what? We got $1,200 for you. It's your pacifier in the meantime. So that should make you happy. So you shut up and put up until we're good.
You guys are only getting 1,200. We're getting $2,000.
Well, we're getting $2,000, but yeah, but this is one thing you have to consider. So why are they trying to buy everyone when they're crashing your own system? Like, nobody wants this economic system, but people have worked for what they do have. Okay, so you can't just go and take it away from them and then like dangle $1,200 in front of them and say, oh, by the way, we're gonna digitize you in your life. We're gonna microchip you, track you with a vaccine, and then we're gonna make you our bitches, okay? Because then when we want to turn the lights off at any point in time, we can just do it. But we're just gonna give you $1,200, so that should keep you happy. So you got to ask yourself, not a good deal here.
Well, exactly. And it's like, and when I was saying, like, these changes will seem good, I think the idea, like the general concept of a universal basic income is great. I think the general idea of giving people the freedom to stay home and do nothing if that's what they want to do is great. But, like, forcing them to do it, right, at all of these other costs is the problem.
Under a much more severe imprisonment, because right now you have access to your cash and you can have it in your hand. You can move around anywhere you want with it. Essentially, you can buy gas with it and it's not tracked. I mean, you have that option. But when they digitize you, you become their currency. Let me repeat this. Let me just repeat this, folks. You become their currency.
They're legalizing the drugs. They're taking out the drug gangs.
Exactly.
Why are they doing that? Because they make the money off the drugs if the drug gangs are off the street.
Right. So
again, it seems like a good thing, but it's a bad thing. And the other thing of going to a digital currency will also help them in that category too.
Yeah.
They can then start to control all the ways in which they deviate us by giving us the prostitution and the hard drug rings and all of the stuff that is actually poisoning us while demonizing the stuff that or categorizing stuff that is also healing in with that. Like things like, like used to consider smoking weed the same thing as doing cocaine. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
You can consider, even to consider alcohol and smoking weed the same thing is not the same thing, and even they're a lot closer, so it's going to seem like a good thing when they bring it to you.
Yeah.
These new technology, all these fun toys, they seem like good things, and they can be, but watch for the hidden price in the fine print, because it's always there.
Yeah, and if they don't like how you're behaving, then they're just gonna, shut your digital currency down so that, it's a modifier. It's a complete terraforming technology that they literally have power over you and your behavior at any given time. They don't like that you're getting too much healing. They'll find a reason why you suddenly don't have your currency in your digital account anymore.
Exactly, and it's not a joke. I mean, they used to do it to us when they do it to us when it's not that easy. If they want to target you enough, like
Right.
they know how to make records go away. They know how to disappear you. They know how to do these things. Digitize all that to it so they can do it remotely at a push of a button. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's at the point now where we're full of so much fucking metal and nanotechnology that they're going to be able to just turn us on and off if that's what they want to do.
Yep.
And we're giving them consent to do that for us by accepting all of these gifts that they're giving us.
Exactly. That's the most important point right there. That's exactly.
It's like, here's a bunch of blankets that we've covered in smallpox.
Yeah. Yeah. The blankets are here to keep you warm, but yeah, they're covered in smallpox, and you've consented to the blankets, and we know what happened with that story, which was utterly horrifying. So.
And that's just the story of humans until we rewrite it.
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound like an asshole. I don't mean to be harsh, but that's the story of humans until we rewrite it. From the time the Draco created this version of us, we have been biting every dangling carrot that anyone has ever put in front of our faces. That's a very bad habit we have to break on every level, whether it's in a personal relationship with a girlfriend or boyfriend that dangles carrots and doesn't really care about you, whether that's a cult that you're following, whether that's a religion that you're following, whether it's the pyramid scheme of your employment, whatever it is. Stop chasing the carrots.
Yeah.
Stop chasing the carrots.
Yeah, because they really aren't carrots at all.
Create. And that's the other thing, like we've just been given all this time.
Yeah.
But there's too much of a fear frequency pumping around us to properly use it.
Yeah.
That's again, it seems good, but it's not.
Yeah, well, and I do think so far they've done this because they're doing this in stages, and I think that because they're upping the ante continually per stage every few days, they're altering something, and the way it's going, there's going to be a shortage of food. The stores are going to have to shut down because we have a shortage of food. Oh, panic, fear. Okay, so the military is going to have to allocate the rations for a price, your vaccines, and then also the gas is going to go because they're going to stop the gasoline, because they're going to just even stop any kind of travel whatsoever. This is where all of this is going. They're going to stop the gas. They're going to stop the travel, even from province to province, state to state. Then, I super have been feeling that they're going to take the grid out real soon, and it's probably connected to Passover, and they want to connect to the whole 3 days of darkness thing. They want to use it. So they're trying to piggyback on the whole celestial stuff and kind of even power this up even more. So you put more magic in, it's like voodoo, right? Like it's just the power punch magic.
Yeah, it's whatever they were to throw at us at that point, we'd just suck it up, It's they've got us in a perfect position for it.
Yeah, and so why isn't everybody, I mean, I do understand that there are people getting sick. People have been getting sick every year from different variations of flus and things. I don't think it's fair to just be concentrating on this one and not
Well, it's because this is how they work, right? Like it's the same thing as a magician has to reveal his hand.
Mm-hmm.
They they're asking that they're basically trying to compromise with us. Stay the fuck home. Do what we say. Show us that you can do what we say, and we won't have to bring the military out.
Mm-hmm.
The health minister of Canada straight up says it.
Mm-hmm.
What we're going to see in the future and how much society changes here is based on your reaction to it. So they're basically telling us you can either lay down now
Mm-hmm.
or we can push you down.
Yeah. But we're going to push you down anyway, but we prefer it if we don't have to do the extra work.
Exactly. One way or another, we need you down here.
Yeah.
And fair play.
Okay.
You can get down there on your own accord.
Why
or we can force you there.
But why not go back to work? Okay. This is what I'm saying. Like, why just blindly believe this and just literally allow them to crash everything and to do their, we know this is not a benevolent act because they think, they're trying to prevent a pandemic from spreading when they're causing spread of a pandemic. Like,
No, they just want to see us obey. They just want to see if we'll do it.
So maybe we need not to, but I don't mean just, there's a fine line here too, because if we don't obey, I'm not talking about like the guy like going down screaming down the road and saying I'm not obeying, and then they say, well, it's because of that we need to martial law everything.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's the other flip side. But if everybody is nice, they just return to work and they're just going about their business and not causing anything other than like, well, we just refuse to believe this, or we refuse to be subject to this unless there's actual proof, and I'm not again saying there is no virus. I'm just saying we're just being told something that isn't necessarily how it really is being played. And they're using it and exploiting it to do what they really have always been wanting to do and what they plan on doing all along. This is just a great smokescreen for them to do it.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, that's what they want. And we do have to not listen, or not follow. Sorry. We can listen. Like we don't have to. We have to. We have to pick and choose our battles really carefully. Here is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
You can't like the staying at home thing. We should probably just listen to that for now, right? When it's more like if you don't stay at home, then we're gonna start arresting you. Then we start to have a problem, right? And some places are already there, which means it's probably just a matter of time for us.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but in Quebec, they're already giving people papers for essential employees.
Really?
To excuse why they're out and about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in our country. I know they kind of do their own thing in Quebec compared to the rest of us, but even still, that's still our country.
Yeah.
So if it's that far, then we're only steps away. And every time you hear that story of someone fucking around and getting diagnosed with COVID and going to Walmart and filming a video and putting it on YouTube, like the more stupid humans do stupid stuff like that.
Oh, yes.
The more trouble we're in for, right? And that's why it's almost like you can only do your part. You gotta kind of, speak for yourself here. You can't. There's nothing we can do to fight them outright. We can only fight our individual battle against them for now, until and if they do start pushing all these buttons, I really don't know if fighting them is the answer. I think breaking away and creating something different is the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's a consensus that we need to have a togetherness. It can't just be one person. I'm trying to do this on my street, because it won't work.
Yeah.
But even like that woman who recorded that video. Okay, what I want to say about that is, we don't know if that wasn't a programmed plant designed expressly. See, because this is how they work. This is what they do.
Yeah.
So, and then it goes viral. Well, that one just happens to go viral, right? There's a whole bunch of amazing information out there and whatever, but that was the one that went viral. It's all tweaked. We know YouTube is completely controlled, blah, blah, blah. We know all that. So it's all contrived. And that's the thing. The minute you have media, the minute you have, and I mean, Who owns all the media channels? Who owns them?
The families beneath the covens.
Exactly.
Ding 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 ding
Ding,
ding.
ding, ding, ding. Precisely. It's absolutely 100%.
Cool. Where's my prize? I mean,
It's like, well, you can come over here and I'll get you an ice cream. Okay.
oh my prize is they didn't kill me when they had the chance.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's your prize. Yeah, exactly. We'll go out for pizza. Everybody likes pizza. But this is their platform. This is their technology. We buy their technology. This is why they can down the grid whenever they feel like it under whatever auspice situation that is a hoax and a faux. But then you get all of their alert system warnings that are and messages that are going to come through just to ensure that they solidify the complete and utter fear and terror in you. Okay, because you'll be dark. Everything will be dark. No technology. I'm telling you, majority of people aren't ready because they think that this is just like nothing's really happening. It's just this.
For sure. Like everyone's okay right now because we can talk to each other,
Right.
right? Like that's the thing. Like a lot of, especially younger people, weren't alive when we weren't able to do this, and even the ones that were, like they forget. We didn't always used to have the internet to get our news and stuff. What happens if they take that away? I mean, like it's really impossible for them to just shut off the internet. But I mean, at the same time, it's not impossible for them to shut off the power. it's
Right. They
so
can shut off the power but you'll still get the alert coming through your television.
yep.
Right. And
Yep.
how is that? Like the whole world will be in a dark out. You get these really terrible, fearful, nobody knows what's going on. Nobody can talk to anybody. So it's
Well, that's it. And with all these new toys being so interconnected, they can do everything remotely. They don't need to go to the actual power plants and shut them down. They can just shut it down somewhere in the line where no one can even detect that that's where it's shut down
yeah.
until it's way too late. It's 3 days later, and there we
Yeah.
go. Yeah, it's funny because like I've actually like I've almost got into a fist fight with someone that I know who lives not too far from me that I met in person from projects, because he was very much sold on the 3 days of darkness being something that it's not.
Hmm.
And it was funny because we had this massive argument about it, and it got that heated. And then he came back to me a couple of years later, being like, "Oh my goodness, like it wasn't that they blocked out the sun; it's just they shut off all the power. Everything went dark." I'm like, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a good way to terrorize an entire world, right? When they're blacked out and they can't talk to anybody except for like who's around you. And
Imagine them doing it while we're in quarantine, scared the fuck like if we're gonna get a virus if we do go to our neighbor's house. You know what I mean? So
and then of course most people aren't ready. And it's the truth. Like who has a kerosene lantern anymore? Those like good old fashioned like when we grew up, who has those? Those are the best. They last forever.
even if they have one, they probably don't know how to light it.
They don't know how to. No, they wouldn't know how
You
to
know what
light
I
it.
mean?
No,
So
no, they wouldn't. No, but that's the kind of stuff that you need. But if you grow up in these later generations where they're all plugged in already to all the variations of AI, I'm pretty sure that they're not even sure how to communicate without it. So if there's a blackout for them, I'm sure they're going to be trying to use their phone.
and so Zombieland rule number 1 is have good cardio. Like they've got chips in your cars, people. You're not gonna be able to drive either.
No.
If that's what they want to do, you can't just drive away. So get used to walking,
Yeah.
get used to swimming, get used to sleeping outside, get used to maybe not eating, 3 squares a day from Burger King or what. I'm kidding, but you know what I mean. Like, get used to like consuming a lot less of everything you're used to consuming.
Yeah.
Everything from your media, from your other, because that day may very well come if they're going to play this out. And
Yeah.
it's better to be prepared for it in case it does happen than just to, hope and pray, thoughts and prayers that it won't happen, because that's not going to help you.
Or I mean, there is a fine line between us being creators, because we are, and also this idea that we can just think of a different timeline and that will manifest. Then it's it's lacking the true understanding of what it's like to be a creator, because you already co-created this. This wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. So you don't just pretend to snap out of it and do something entirely. This is all the sum total of what everybody has literally agreed to, done, created together collectively, through non-action, through compliance, through not standing in any kind of will and sovereignty, none of it. So what, this doesn't just get switched off. This light will not just switch off.
And there's no utopia on the other end either. Right? It's just a better system if we were to, I mean, what I mean is, like, if we were to change everything for the better, you know, it's still never going to be a utopia.
Yeah.
You know,
No.
we're dealing with, there are too many personalities, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And the collective result of that consciousness and unconsciousness and subconsciousness mixing in a sea. So, but get your
yeah.
backpack ready, get your
Well,
land.
that's
like,
it. And I was going to say that too. It's like, you don't want to put all your energy into thinking about, oh God, this is going to happen, I have to be ready for it. You just go, okay, that could happen, I'm going to get ready for it.
Yeah.
And then you get ready for it. And then you're ready for it.
Yeah.
And then guess what? You don't have to spend energy on that anymore. What
Yeah.
can you spend your energy on? Then you can put all the energy into, you know, I really hope this doesn't happen. I would much rather see this happen.
Right. But then you're already set. Like, for example, you know, if you have a decent pair of hiking boots that you know you can use day in and day out all year round, make sure that they're ready. Make sure your backpack's ready. Make sure that your backpack is packed with everything you need to survive out there. And that means like a fishing pole, whatever, right? Like, you know, not everybody can go and just pick an orange where they live, or
Yeah.
like in the winter in Ontario, you're not picking anything.
No, in the winter in Ontario, you better have found enough stuff over the spring, summer, and fall, or you're gonna be kind of fucked over for a long
You
time.
got to fight the squirrels, Shane.
Yeah, man. I already trapped the squirrels before they could hibernate.
For the nut, you got to fight the squirrels for the nuts. But that's what it is, and it's true. Just have it ready. Make sure you do your prepping. You know, there's a lot of sites that tell you what you really need in a backpack, because a lot of people get bamboozled by, oh my God, I don't have a clue what to do. But there's lists, so it's not, you know, it's not that hard.
And just do it with the intention of, I'm not going to need to use this.
Right. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to need to.
But guess what? I'm fucking ready. So, you know, and then you can kind of face the future with a bring it on mentality instead
Yeah.
of a, oh my God, what happens if this happens?
Yeah.
And you can just be like, okay, well, whatever you throw at me, I'm ready. This is what I want to happen. And if that's not the way it goes, okay, cool. I'm ready for that.
Right. Maybe have a bicycle, you know, with
It's not the world we are changing. We're making sure that the world doesn't change us.
Exactly. But if we don't do, you know, if we don't do this on our own, then it's not going to get done at all, because it is like the butterfly effect, and we are the butterfly effect. So we each got to do it. All of us.
But you mean there's no space aliens coming to save us? Like, I could really use some really big blue birds. They could come down and maybe they could bring something called ascension with them. I hear that ascension shit's the bomb, yo. Yeah, let's bring some of that. Where's that guy? We could remove some chakras. I think that helps us to make sure that, like, you know, like stuff doesn't go on. And oh, by the way, like, I know this guy who's like part of this dragon family, and he's got like billions of dollars and trillions of dollars in gold like hidden in his basement, and he's gonna give it to like all the poor people.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And then, you know, then you go bye-bye, you know,
Exactly.
to the ascension prison.
That's how you fucking got here, folks.
Yeah. I know it's a bit harsh, everyone. It's like, you know, but it isn't really. It isn't. It's just time to grow up, and it's, you know, we can't. It's just time. It's time.
It's just a little tough love. Just giving you a little kick in the butt. That's all. That's all it is. You know, you're stronger than this. Get off
Yeah.
of your fucking knees.
Yeah.
So many people have been telling you that for so long now. Listen to them.
And that's it right there. I think people don't realize that they are that within themselves. They don't realize that they have that kind of strength. They've lived a life where they've been taught and trained, and genetically, this has been passed on to them, literally generation after generation, so that they just literally pacify and are pacified and accept all of their weakness and meekness and vulnerability with this power that they don't ever really question, and therefore they never really get to even see what strength they have. And I know that they will be shocked to find out just how strong it is and what's in them, because that spirit comes from source, and that's not AI.
Well, a happy little side effect of this whole everyone being locked up and having all kinds of time on their hands is going to be some people are going to find out in a hurry just what they truly are. And, that can be a really good thing for us. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and hopefully it won't cause mayhem.
Let the games begin.
Yeah.
May the odds ever be in your favor.
Yeah. You know that there's an absolute calculative numerology to all of this, and when you study the history of wars and the history of all of these like critical events that have occurred, there is actually a mathematical equation in precision to how they do it.
Milestones.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's all, and that's where like the root of your magic comes from, and the root of all of that comes from. So there is a recipe that they follow, and
It's rituals. It's giant rituals. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And rituals, like, I guess I said it in a live podcast I did just recently, that it's kind of got a dirty tone to it these days, but it doesn't need to be. Like, embrace your inner witches and warlocks, and remember that, like, ritual is simply something that you can do, a song and dance, a theatrical expression for your imagination to have something tangible in the world to lock itself onto, and let your will do the rest. And it's important. It can be a very, very useful tool, and I do encourage people to create their own special spells and rituals. Don't go looking on the internet for other people's, because that's where you can get yourself in trouble. Create your own with your own intention. And if you trust yourself and you have good intention, you're a good person on the light, then guess what? Your spell, your magic, it's going to be good intentions. It's going to work out well, and you're going to be protected. Stop letting people scare the fuck out of you.
Yeah, exactly. Because that is the way we create. Whether, even as children know this innately. That's why children naturally dance and do all stuff because they know.
That's why they're naturally fearless.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that they don't know the consequences. They just believe that they can take them.
And it's true. Really, it's just, you have to return to this. At the same time I say grow up, we have to return to what we are when we are as children. So it is, it's always bitter and sweet here. It's always a yin and yang, right?
Here's a story. When I first got told about bees stinging, I think I was 5. And someone told me, if you piss off a bee, it'll sting you. Obviously not in those words. I was 5. And I was like, okay, well, what if I go pick one up and I'm really nice? Well, it still stung me.
That's a nice
so
That's a nice story. It's funny, you were 5 years old and you said that's pretty good. Well, of course you did, right?
Yeah. What if I'm really nice? Then will it still sting me? And it did.
Yeah.
Because it still felt threatened by me, because I'm a giant, and it's this little thing. And I just closed it in the palm of my hand. And what the fuck else is it supposed to do? I just shut the lights off.
Poor thing. Right?
Does that mean the bee tried to hurt me because it was a bad person, or it was a bad bee? No, the bee was just trying to get out of the dark.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the bee was in an enclosure that was unnatural to it from, some giant mass.
Exactly. 5-year-old giant.
Poor bee.
Poor bee.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got to write this story. And really, we have to be the authors of our own stories. You know, you are a created form. You are a created, manifested being. So really, I don't understand how, like, why is it a given to accept reality the way that you live it? There's nothing right about this. There's nothing right about it. End of story. Like, it just.
Yeah, I mean, within it, you have a lot of bending room, so you might as well make things bend and find your own place. I want to play with that sword behind you.
Yeah, I have like, and I've got like this other one that's above it too. So there's like two swords, one, and then the keys, and then the other sword. I've had that sword forever. I just, love swords.
I don't know where that comes from.
I don't know either. Too funny.
You could start a rumor and say that you were a sword swallower as your day job. That's what she does. She works for a circus, swallowing swords.
Yeah.
She can do it when they're on fire too.
Yeah, definitely when they're on fire. That's.
So do you want to tell me a joke? Can you tell me a joke?
A joke.
Yeah.
I'm like funnier when it's just on the cuff, like when it's just, as we're just talking, but I'm like the worst person to tell jokes ever.
I heard a dirty one to do that was pretty funny.
What?
So there's 3 nuns on bikes.
I'm already laughing because you said nuns.
I know. And they're going down the road, and one of the nuns says, "I've never came this way before." And the other nun replies, "That's because of the cobblestone." Terrible
joke. Yeah. No, I'm the worst at jokes. The only one I remember, I think my dad was really good at jokes, actually. He was a really good joke teller, and he, sometimes, when people are down or whatever, and they have that saying, he would tell me stuff from work, right? And he would say, like, the guys were like really depressed, and they were like saying, "Is there any light at the end of the tunnel?" And I told him, "Oh yeah, you don't have to worry about that. And lucky for you, it's not the train."
Oh. Well played.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give the listening audience a little gift and expose you to them. This woman here is incredibly tiny. She's just so short. It's ridiculous. It's like, I don't even know. Like, do they call you like a little person? You're not, right?
I have been called a little person. I used to be called little one when I was, growing up.
Well, that's creepy.
I know, right? Talk about programs.
But yeah, I actually, I think it was yesterday. I have this birthday meme that I send to people on their birthday. It's David Hasselhoff in a Speedo and a leather jacket with no undershirt, full chest hair. Yeah, it says happy birthday. And about like a row down from that in my saved pictures is you and I.
Yeah.
But it's like always just like a row down from that. So anytime there's a birthday, I see David Hasselhoff and I see you. So.
Perfect. I think I had to come in real small, actually. I just think there's just too much energy.
There you go.
Right?
Speaking of which, that night that I'm talking about, that I came and saw you, I think you were at a hotel. That was stupid weather. Like, that was the worst snowstorm, the absolute worst snowstorm that has ever happened. And yeah, why don't I travel across the city?
It was impossible. Like,
I know.
You guys didn't have anything like that until we were supposed to meet.
I know. We never have. Like, I've never seen I've been in the city about 7 years now. I've never seen anything even close to it, other than when we had that big ice storm, which was different. But like that amount of like snow and the way the wind was, it was like a fucking snow tornado. I know. It was like a snow tornado. It was like all of a sudden Toronto was the Arctic just for a few hours. So you know what I mean? Like, it was literally just right when it was like, okay, I'm gonna come see what is going on outside. and then I get there and it stops, and then I go to leave and it starts again. So
Yeah, I know.
AI definitely has a sense of humor.
Yeah, that was absolutely mad.
Speaking of weather, so a lot of how they maintain the chemtrailing was through commercial airlines. They don't have all those commercial airlines flying anymore. They have a lot less shit in the sky, and the weather's starting to go. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. Oh, earthquake! Let's do that.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it's been
bad
pretty
news.
quiet with that too.
A little bit. I mean, there was the one in. Why can't I remember where this was right now? I want to say the Czech Republic, but I could be wrong. Croatia. Croatia had
Oh,
that big earthquake.
okay.
There was another one in Russia just a little while ago, like a few days ago, just off the coast of Russia. And they put Hawaii underneath a tsunami warning for a little while, for about an hour. So,
Interesting.
combination of them just kind of losing control of these pressurized systems that they were using to manipulate weather,
Yeah.
at least temporarily, and Mama going, "Oh, I can breathe."
No, I
Uh,
kid you not. I swear, this is like exactly because my body, ever since this, people are freaked out, but my body's actually feeling pretty good. And I'm just like, because Earth is feeling pretty good.
Someone posted a picture of LA from the top of Hollywood Hill, and it is clear skied. Like, it has not been clear sky since like the early 80s. Just for like a few weeks of not having us fuck it up so badly, it all just starts going back to normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's funny, like walking around, because there's so much less foot traffic, there's a lot more like weeds growing up between the sidewalks and stuff like that. And we're
Yeah.
just getting into spring. So if this does continue into summer, like they're telling us that it will, it'll be kind of interesting to see, because they can't have a lot of people out doing the maintenance and stuff like that on it either. So they're going to have to let some things overgrow. So it's going to be really interesting for a lot of places to get to see like how quickly nature takes shit back when we aren't
Fussing
hurting it. Yeah.
with it all the time. Yeah, I mean, it definitely, it does show you just how much they manipulate everything. And actually, because of all of that, they are causing these earthquakes. They are causing these pressures that are unnatural.
Yep.
I mean, but the HARP workers and CERN, they're still going to work, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure.
But the way that like that all works with the chemtrailing, right? And
Hmm.
so you see the lines that go up in grids.
Yeah.
That's a specialized program. Those are planes that are
Yeah.
up there specifically to make those grids. And we don't hear about those airlines.
No.
The majority of the lines are just commercial airlines. That's why they're able to get away with saying, "Oh, they're just contrails," because look, it is just a Air Canada flight. They're
Yeah.
right, but they've put the shit in their fuel so that it spreads
Yeah.
out, and then when they come around with the other specialized program, they can just move it around as they
Yeah.
want to.
And it doesn't look so much like it's not as
Exactly.
suspicious.
Exactly.
So,
And when
yeah,
you
it's
get into a
crazy.
major city like this one, and like somewhere like LA where there's an airport in the middle of it, of course you're always going to see air traffic, and all the lines are not going to look like they're in any kind of pattern because they're going to be all layered over top of each other.
So have you noticed the like I almost want to call it something entirely different than the Mandela effect, because I think it's like the steroid Mandela effect, the unstable Mandela effect that just keeps changing. Like I keep seeing more and more things that I'm like, what? Yeah, and I love looking at world maps because I've always looked at world maps since I was young. I've always had a fascination with that. So I pretty much memorized that, and also because I did take archaeology in university. But I don't know if you ever just routinely have been looking at things to see just how different everything is in the weirdest ways, or even the size of countries, the size of Greenland, the size, like where Iceland is now, Florida, with that, like just even look at the shape of Florida right now.
Well, yeah, there's been. It's funny because it's almost like I feel like ever since the Earth movement came back around, that like science has just been fucking up more and more. You
Oh,
know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
it almost seems like it's like, well, fuck, if people are just going to believe the Earth is flat anyways, we can give up.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we don't even have to try and make sense.
Exactly. So
It's true.
yeah,
It's
I
true.
think I think that has a lot to do with it because I know, even like Earth pictures, like a picture of the Earth from space,
Oh
all of a
God.
sudden, like America's twice the size as it was yesterday. Like that doesn't make any sense, and it's not because
Yeah.
Earth grew twice the size in a day. It's because the pictures are fucking fake, and the maps are bullshit, and they got no
Yep.
fucking real idea how big this
No.
place actually is, and some of the layers.
No. No, and they use lenses too. So when they do whatever quote their photography is, it's based on the lens that they use to manipulate the image.
Well, it depends on what they're using. Like satellite data it's not even a picture. It's not pixels. It's just data. It's the numbers, it's zeros and ones that
Yeah.
recreate digitally in the form of a CGI image. It's not a real picture.
Yeah. And that's all matrix, of course, right? So that's matrix technology.
Well, that's exactly how the virtual simulations would work,
Exactly.
right? It's the holodeck from fucking Star Trek.
Totally. It is. And that's another documentary. We just need to talk about all the documentaries that pass off as sci-fi movies, sci-fi fantasy, and the comic books. Right? All of it. Let's just all docos.
We could also get ourselves into a lot of trouble by telling stories about Gene, Mr. Roddenberry.
Yes. Tell.
But anyways,
Those are our thoughts for tonight.
better not do that. Better not do that.
No. No. But there are a lot of it's all unraveling, all of it. So even through all of this process, it's actually like what we were saying, the good always will use whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. They can try and control whatever they want, but ultimately, you can't control nature.
No, souls aren't going anywhere. Nature's not going anywhere. All you can do is fuck with them.
Yeah.
And once they figure out that you're fucking with them, they can fuck back or not and just stop you from fucking with them.
But they can't take anything you don't give them.
Exactly.
End of story.
And they can't manipulate anything that's not already in you.
Yeah.
So get it cleared out of you and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Now I want to watch you do a backflip.
Yeah. I used to love doing backflips all the time, but it used to be my favorite thing. I used to, as a monkey. Just
Monkeys.
all over the place. Well, I think it just comes from being able to do so much celestially when we were in our forms and whatnot. Like, we're relegated to bodies here that are really a bit frustrating.
That's why I'm always messing with mine and pushing the boundaries.
No.
Trying different experiments just to see what happens. It's fun.
Yeah.
They used to do it to me, and now I get to do it to myself. It's a lot more fun when I'm doing it to myself.
Well, I mean, ultimately, just the same as they can edit our genes, and we'll wrap it up, but just the same as they can edit genes and manipulate genomes for traits and characteristics and strengths, we can just do it energetically. And that's the truth.
Exactly.
And we can remove the edits, actually, so that we take back what was taken, because again, there's nothing that can't be healed. There's nothing that can't be, because it already is in a state of perfection. So
well, that's it. The genetics and the structure and the blood and the bloodlines and all that stuff, they're just structures.
Yeah.
And within that structure gets put a spirit, a soul. And that transmutates everything from the moment of its inception, incarnation, to the moment of its dispersal. That's not even a word. But,
I like it, though.
But it sounded like fun.
I like that word.
Dispersal.
It's a new word, folks. Dismersal.
Sounds like fun. Well,
I like it.
I guess I'll let you go and do the backflip off camera because now I know you can't wait. And we will talk again soon.
All right.
I
That sounds
love
good.
you.
Good night. I love you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.